The 2014 Hansa Fish River Canoe Marathon is proudly brought to you by Hansa Pilsner.
The 38th edition of the Hansa Fish River Canoe Marathon began on the banks of the Grassridge Dam here. The paddlers, some 1,200 of them, headed down towards Knutsford, 48.5 kilometres downstream on the Great Fish River. It's a K1 year, no Len Jenkins, so the racing is expected to be very, very fierce.
A lot to expect and a lot of unknown for me. It's my first Canoe River Marathon and also my first time here at the Fish, obviously, and I'm just looking to try to enjoy it as much as possible. So,
how did it come about that you're here?
So I came actually for the surf ski races in Cape Town, and I came to stay and train with the Makas, and then I heard that South Africa's favorite race was going on at the early October, so I made it my mission to try to come out and experience what Canoe River racing was all about.
On Tuesday, my brother was packing the car, and my friends were all packing the bags and this and that, and then I was at home and I was like, oh man, I was like, I can't miss this. I've got to be it. So then I phoned the organisers, pleaded with a late entry, and they let me in. So
Yeah, Len does add another dimension to fish, and everyone's chasing him the whole way, which leaves the race quite open. But Hank has just become World Marathon champ, and he absolutely demolished the other guys in the end sprint. So maybe we'll have the same scenario with Hank this year. Yeah, fish is the same every single year. It's always the same level. Something like geese, you have to make it down. You can't have a goof, and you just have to look sharp through the willows.
Day one is 48 kilometres and starts off with 10 kilometres of all-action fun. After a short paddle across the dam, the new double troubleshoots, Toast Rack low-level bridge, and then at the 9-kilometre mark, the biggest rapid of the race, Keith's Flyover. The A-batch seeded paddlers get underway. It's a Le Mans start, so the run down to the water key to getting a good position on the bunch. One of the best runners of the boat in the world, Tulani Bunch, by getting a great start. There's Grant van der Walt out on the right-hand side, and you can see the bunch converging. New course now means the paddlers head straight to the right-hand side of the dam wall instead of heading out into the middle of the dam. And pretty much as was the case last year, some wind on the water as well, just to make sure that the paddlers have to mind their P's and Q's. But it's nowhere near the gale force they had to deal with last year. And it's the 5 times World Marathon champ Hank McGregor in the blue boat who leads them out to the portage. Jasper Mocker right on his rudder, Grant van der Walt right with him as well. And look at this, Bonello Quela using his great running skill. He's a doozy pro. He's also right in the mix. But Andy Burkett, another 4 times doozy champion, putting all the pressure on Hank McGregor, and it's Burkett and McGregor that find themselves side by side as they head down towards the new 2-step double trouble weirs, and it's Andy Burkett who gets down there first. I think McGregor content to let Andy show him the lines and see if he's going to make any mistakes. Burkett, a man who likes to do his homework on this section of river, he goes through the second wave and it's all clear for Burkett. So he has the lead as they head down towards Toast Rack, and you'll see immediately the paddlers getting snarled up in the willows, which have grown extensively in the winter. Now here comes the rest of the A-batch paddlers. 2 steps in this weir. Here goes Tulani Mbanjwa sliding down the fish chute, so like the start of the Doozy Canoe Marathon, and then down into the second drop. Here he goes into the wave. Bungee smashes through the water. Now on board with David Mocker, he's going down the left-hand side of the chute. No problems for the surf ski pro. Then a little further downriver, the low-level Toast Rack bridge. Andy Burkett and Hank McGregor both opting to go down the safer right-hand side. It really isn't much slower, and it is a great deal safer as the chasers behind them split left and right. The centre line with a full river is slightly more chancy, and there goes Bonello Quela right in the mix. Unusually, B-batch seeded K3s, this event being the SA K3 champs, 103 K3s entered.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. I think there's 2 or 3 good crews on the line. I think we just got to look sharp in the top willow section. These boats are pretty long, and manoeuvring through there makes it quite difficult. So we had a little oops in the willows yesterday, but hopefully it'll be right today.
It is the K3 champs, isn't it? So there's a bigger field than ever here.
I know, so if you are looking to do alright, you got to get your head right now. So hopefully it goes all well.
Expect some fierce racing from the seeded batch of K3 paddlers. See the pink K3 not too urgent about getting onto the water, but there are some talented paddlers, some largely untested crews on the water here, but the crew to beat, there's no doubt about it. They've won the K3 title before. Nick Burden, together with Adam Nisbet and Jean-Luc Mauvais, as they head out to the takeout. The challenge coming from these guys, Calvin Zeeley, Luke McNish and Scott Johnson, the Eastern Cape boat, who are going to be trying their level best to try and bring home a title for the Eastern Cape at their major in the canoeing world. But as they get to double trouble, it's Mauvais, Burden and Nisbet who go punching through that wave. These guys really do know how to make the K3 work through the tricky upper sections where the tight channels through the willow trees make it very, very tricky. Brandon van der Westhuizen, Anders Hart and David Mayhazen going through the bottom sections of Double Trouble, well in the mix in what is going to be a very hotly contested K2 race. Now let's go back to the leaders. This is the big one, Keith's Flyover, and it's Hank McGregor who's in the front, getting thrashed around by the water. Andy Burkett right on his... and Andy Burkett's being pushed to the right. Hank gets smashed by the big waves in the middle hole, drops into the next hole, seems to have it... but Hank is being thrown to the right. Andy Burkett sees it and is trying to stay clear of Hank, also staying clear of the trees on the side. And McGregor has been spun around. Now here's a dramatic turn in the race. McGregor pointing upstream, and he's going to have to try and find some calm water to eddy out, and he's watching two boats get ahead of him. Now this is not going to please Hank, but he does a pretty masterful job of turning around in the choppy water. Now, the world champion is playing catch-up. Just behind him, it's carnage as the rest of A batch gets a taste of Keith's Flyover. The river, normally running at 26 cumes, is running at significantly more than that. And Keith's Flyover was going to be an extreme test of paddling skills, and a lot of A batch, as you can see, are being found wanting. This is a swim that you really don't want to have to entertain if you fancy any chances of getting on the podium. It's long, it's painful, and it can often do some severe and irreparable damage to your boat by the time you get to the calm pool at the bottom. Blood in the water at Keith's Flyover, and it's a hound's job if you get it wrong. Now let's have a look at the map. The middle section ends up with a Soapans Drift Rapid, and then just when the paddlers are tiring and they've gone through the 40 kilometer mark, the Knutsford drop. Catching up, there are three boats at the front as they head towards the bridge at Soapans Drift Rapid. The blue boat of Hank McGregor, Andy Burkett, Jasper Mocker. That's the 1, 2, 3 as they head down towards the bridge. Hank McGregor looking so calm and composed. The 5 times world champ recently retained his K1 title and won the K2 title in Oklahoma City. 4 boats together, and you'll see the full river means the paddlers are able to sneak the lines. Greg Lowe, Craddock-raised local, knowing all the ins and outs of the river at different levels. And in 5th, somewhere off them, big grin from Grant van der Walt. Loves his paddling, but gives it all, leaves everything out on the water. The chasing bunch now moving in, Tulani and Bunjwa leading the chasers as they head under the bridge at Soapans Drift Rapid. They're a little way off the pack now. They know that there are 5 in the front, and they are now vying for the positions in the top 10. Here's our leading K3, Jean-Luc Mauvais, Nick Burden and Adam Nisbet, who have now put water between themselves and the chasers. As we get to the finish, it's Hank McGregor, who's made use of a small slip by Andy Burkett at the portage at the last weir to put together a 50-second gap.
Yeah, I'm happy to finish first day of 2014 Hansa Fish, and I managed to get out on top, and looking strong for tomorrow's second stage.
Jeez, the wind was super chilly. I think that was the biggest factor, is that cold chill. My mouth's still a bit frozen, but yeah, it was cool. We paddled nicely.
Back to the start at Grass Ridge Dam, and time to shift the spotlight to the seeded women as they head off for their Le Mans start. Some really talented river paddlers on the line here, including the defending champion Michelle Ere, raised in Plet but now living in Oklahoma City where she's coaching the US Canoe Kayak team. Here's Abby Adey, K2 winner. She would love to add a Fish K1 title to her K2 trophy, and she is comfortably through the water at the bottom of Double Trouble. Now, let's see how the ladies manage this. So often the ladies that succeed in this race are the ladies that manage to stay in their boat throughout. And with a little bit of extra water on day one, it was certainly going to ask questions of the river skills of some of the ladies. This is Tamika Hoare. Tamika's a great river paddler, and she comes unglued at the bottom of Double Trouble. Frustrating for Tamika. Tamika and Bianca Hoare certainly going to be contenders throughout. On board now with Jenna Ward. She's just come back from a super outing at the World Marathon Champs. Into the wave she goes. Good news, tick. Double Trouble mastered by Jenna Ward. Now, will the woman shoot Keith's flyover? Apparently not. Abby Adey has done enough to give herself a sniff of the lead, and she's walking around. Given the carnage that happened to the elite men in A batch, probably a shrewd decision. The women that have been good enough to shoot Keith's flyover have been able to earn a small lead, but over a 48-kilometer first day, often the marathoners have been able to reel it in. So a calculated gamble. Abby Adey still leading, with Michelle Ire in second place as they come up to Soutpansdrift, which is roughly 26 kilometers into the 48-kilometer stage. Michelle Ire not having done a lot of river time in her K1. She's been training for the US team for the Flatwater Marathon Champs, but she's certainly holding her own. And it's Abby Adey at the line first.
Yeah, no, it was a tough day. We had a headwind a lot of the time, and it was cold, and yeah, a long day, and had Michelle right behind me. Every time I looked over my shoulder, she was there, so couldn't manage to shake her off, and she had a hard grind coming to the end here.
So the tail of the tape at the end of a tough day one. Basically 2 paddlers in it, 50 seconds separating Hank McGregor and Andy Burkett, and then a gaggle of paddlers that are going to be jostling for the top 10. 2-boat race for the women's race, and a 5-minute buffer for the leading K3 from KZN.
I think the vibe's really good. The varsity students really bring a good vibe.
A relatively cold sleep, feeling fresh and ready to go.
You know, the friendships, the camaraderie on the river, and afterwards, you know, the guys getting together. It's got a great atmosphere. I love the fish. It's an awesome event.
Corné Krieke with a little bet on the side with Tian Strauss, another former Bok. First man home is going to have to chip in $100 to the charity. The loser's going to have to chip in 200. Big water at the start of day one, and that's keeping the spectators amused at all the major obstacles. It's a great event for the spectators, enjoying the Klein Karoo scenery and what turned out to be a really testing day on the river. The trees change it every year. Into Keith's Flyover. A lot of people came unglued here. There was probably more broken boats this year at Keith's Flyover than any of the 32 years in the history of this race. Come unglued here, it's a swim you will remember for a long, long time. Tony Boats walking around Keith's. K3 taking the submarine route through Keith's. How to do it and how not to do it. Did you check that?
Hey, having fun. It's great fun, yeah.
Very good, it's awesome.
It's going well. We're having a great time on the river.
I think the heart and soul of the fish is not the winners is obviously very important, but I think guys like me and the rest of the middle lot paddlers, they're here to enjoy themselves, enjoy the whole weekend.
No, definitely. You know, these are the guys, and I appreciate all the paddlers supporting Hansa, and obviously Hansa. That's why we stick to these guys in this sport. It's unbelievable. It's refreshing and yeah, totally different.
Oh, it was fun. It was good being out there. Gorgeous river and incredible paddlers, and it's fun to be with so many racers. So,
Hansa Fish rocks!
Cheers!
Day one of the Hansa Pilsener Fish River Canoe Marathon was proudly brought to you by Hansa Pilsener.